Hello, everybody. 2 viewers, yay. One is me, so I don't know. Oh, 3 of you, yay, including me. All right, cool. Let's get started, shall we? Hey, Gail. Clive and Dawn, question mark? Are you in the right broadcast? Hey. I thought we would do Sewing 101 live today because I've got a number of sewing projects to do. No worries. If you're not in the right broadcast, it's okay to leave, really. I won't, no hard feelings. Hey, Lisa. So I thought that we would do a live, my mind was not tuned on. Gail, that's me every day. Like, really? Especially when even minor things go wrong, like yesterday when my washing machine blew up. Like, seriously, my mind is frequently not turned on or in the right place. Tommy Girl 75. Hey! All right, so I have a number of sewing videos. I was actually going to try to film yesterday, and if you don't follow me on social media, you don't know. There was an appliance issue here yesterday, and I had a half-finished load of large load of well, whole bunch of laundry. The washing machine had issues. I had to go run to the laundromat, which I haven't done in like 20 years, so I didn't even know where one was. It was a whole big process. Anyway, we got it fixed last night, yay. But little things like that just throw my whole day off. And I have anxiety disorder, so anyway, so it doesn't take much, to be honest. So I didn't get any of the sewing done yesterday I was going to, or bookkeeping. Not that I'm excited to do the bookkeeping, but anyway, I thought since I still have to do it today, maybe I would just, you know, like do some of it on camera live, because why not? Then I don't have to edit video, so win-win for me. So we're going to do that. And yeah, it was, you know, it was just my husband came home. He's a genius with mechanical things and computers. I am not. And that's just being very kind to myself. I'm just not. So he came home and he works long hours, but he came home anyway last night. Before he had dinner, he fixed it. Yay. I did. It was a really pretty turquoisey color. And the Indian man was very nice to me who was running it. And yeah, he was very sweet. So yeah, it was very nice. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about today, we're here with Sewing 101 Live. By the way, no painting involved today. So if you're here to see a painting broadcast, you're in the wrong broadcast. I was going to do something else this morning on Sewing 101 Live, and I had a few questions about this particular subject and a request from a friend that were all related. So I thought we would do them live. Yeah. So, and the live thing that we're going to do is we're going to take my Traveler's Notebook cover that I've already done a couple of tutorials on, and there's one more coming, where I make basically the same size cover but in a hand-painted fabric. Both of those tutorials are coming. You haven't seen them yet. Take that basic design and make it for a larger notebook, like a composition book. I've had a number of questions about that, including a comment thread with someone, a message thread with somebody over Facebook this morning. And so we're going to work on that today. The first thing I want to tell you, thanks. The first thing I want to tell you is I want to talk about sewing machine maintenance. So like any other piece of equipment in your art room, it should get maintenance and cleaning on a regular basis. The more you sew with it and the more mixed media things you sew with it, the more often you should do said maintenance. Gail, there is a denim Traveler's Notebook cover Sewing 101, and there is a canvas one already on my channel. So you can look at both of those. The basic pattern's the same, and the painted fabric one is coming, and I'll give you guys a sneak peek in a minute of the composition book size one that I made. But let's talk about maintenance. So especially if you're using your machine for mixed media fabrics that has paint and glue collage on it, then all of those little bits and pieces and particles or paper they go inside your machine and they can really gunk up your machine. So it's really important that you keep your machine clean. It's really important that you probably don't use a machine like this one, which is an expensive dressmaking machine for mixed media fabric. I have a little Janome. I'm going to be filming some tutorials with that actually today. And it was less than $100, and it's basically a throwaway machine. And if I really screw it up because I get something in there and blow the motor, I think it cost me like $50. And while that's not chump change by any stretch, it's still $50, but it's a lot less than this one, which was over $1,000. So well over $1,000. I won't tell you how much exactly it was because you'll all have a heart attack. But so definitely you want to use a lesser expensive machine for mixed media fabric. You want to use maybe a used machine, something inexpensive. For what we're doing today is all fabric, so I don't have to worry about it. But whatever machine you have, you should do maintenance on it. Most of your owner's manuals are going to have a section for cleaning and oiling in the back somewhere. Mine has it back here. And each machine's a little different. My old machine, which was a Brother, I could take more of it apart to get at the moving parts to clean and oil it than I can with this one. FOF really doesn't want you. They don't really want you to get inside there. So I can only do so much to it, and then every couple of years or so, I have to take it to a proper sewing machine repair place and have them really take it apart and do a good cleaning and oiling on it, especially if I've been doing a lot of sewing. So that being said, I have my husband take it to his garage workspace. He's got a hobby space in the garage, and he used his air compressor to get to the places he could get to and blow as much dust and fabric fibers and whatever he could out of it. And then when I got it back in here, really the only place you can oil it is here, and this foot plate lifts up. There we go. And you can oil in there also. So I did, he took this off to clean, so it was already off. So then when I got it back inside, and it was oiled and everything, I did have to readjust all my tension settings, because unlike at the sewing machine repair place where they clean it and then they test it and they reset all the tension for you, my husband didn't do that. It was all screwed up. So, but that's fine. It was free. So I did that, and it's actually running much better this morning and much quieter. So remember to check your owner's manual. Remember to do regular maintenance. Keep your machine clean. Remember to use good sewing machine oil on it. This is Singer sewing machine oil. Hey, Kathy. And so now we're going to start. That being said, that's my little speech. Hey, Frankie, that's my little speech about machine maintenance. Make sure you've read your manual, right? You know how to thread your machine, set the tension on your machine. Everyone's different. Read your manual. There's no shortcut. And make sure you give it regular maintenance. Your owner's manual will tell you how often maintenance is recommended, depending on how much you sew. Usually it depends on how much you sew with the machine, and it'll tell you so many hours of sewing you should go get it clean. And a can of compressed air. I have a husband with an air compressor, but if you don't have that, which a lot of people don't, and we didn't for a long time, a can of compressed air works really well. And I also keep in my sewing box, which is right here kind of off camera, I keep a couple of soft bristled paint brushes, and you can tell when I flick them all the dust that goes everywhere. These are just for cleaning the dust and crud out of my machine. So I have a couple of them in there, and that's, I lift the plates up and pull the bobbin out, and I'm in here brushing all the balls of fuzz out. And now if you're going to sew jeans on any machine, make sure you use a jeans needle. Don't try to sew jeans with a needle meant for knits or a thin, fine fabric needle. If you're going to sew jeans on your machine, make sure you use a denim needle. Make sure watch the denim traveler's notebook video because I talk about specifically sewing with denim and the things you should and shouldn't do when sewing with denim, especially repurposed denim, because there are tricks to it, and you don't want to sew over the big, thick, you know, double top stitched seams, because you know, there's not a lot of machines that are going to sew over that, not home machines. You really need, this one has a differential feed and a pretty strong motor, and it still even has trouble. Most of you aren't going to be able to do that. So go watch the denim jeans video. I do recommend that if you're going to do stuff with lots of jeans. And yeah, we're going to make some journal, so a journal cover. All right, so I have a friend who wanted me to make her one to fit a composition book for our My Journal 2017 program we're going to have coming out for the Facebook, my Facebook group and the sister groups. Hey, Toy. Toy is one of the ones that had a question this morning. So I thought that I made hers already this morning, and I'll share it in a second. But I thought while I was doing it, you know, maybe we should do one out of just plain canvas. I should show you guys how to figure out how to make the same kind of traveler's notebook style cover for a bigger notebook. Yeah. So you can use a homemade notebook. You can use a store-bought notebook. This is just an inexpensive composition book. Maybe you want your notebook cover to have, and this question came up, to have mixed media paper in it or watercolor paper in it. So you've bought a notebook that has that in it, or maybe you've made one. So whatever size notebook or kind of notebook you end up getting, this is going to be the video that's going to show you how to figure out how to make a cover for that. Yeah. The first question we're going to answer this morning is about this stuff. So these are just scraps, and I've saved them because I have an idea of something we're going to do with them in an upcoming video. This stuff is called Extra Firm Stabilizer. This is from the interfacing department of your fabric store, and it's purposefully meant for making tote bags, handbags, fabric sculptures with. That's what it was made for, what it was invented for, and it's washable. Yeah, see, so Gail, that's what this video is for, and it's going to be, you know, recorded and saved to the channel. So for anybody else who wants to do that, and I'll probably add some note to the title for people. Okay, so anyway, this stuff comes two ways. It comes like this, which is a sew in, and both sides of this feel the same. There is a version of this that's fusible. That means it has a heat reactive glue on one side, and when you iron it to the fabric, it sticks. Don't get that one. You're going to just cause yourself more trouble than you need if you try to use that one. You want the sew-in kind for this. It's the easiest thing to work with. And it's about, right now, Joann's.com has it for $3 a yard. I know because I looked right before we went live as I was eating my protein bar. Yeah, okay, so the original one of these toy was made to fit Midori style notebooks or the Moleskine Kaye notebooks. Okay, the first thing you want to do is measure. I need my tape measure. Hang on. I had to clean out my sewing box so I could find all my tape measures. I kept buying tape measures because I couldn't find them, and now I have like 6 of them. I'm going to have to put some into some future mystery boxes. Okay. That stabilizer's fabulous. You know, I prefer making like handbags, tote bags, journal covers, mixed media things with my sewing. And so that's over dressmaking. So that stabilizer is fabulous. It's a regular in my studio. Okay, so whatever notebook you're using, okay, whichever one you're using, you want to keep it closed. Start with your tape measure at the outside edge of one side. This is where the end is, where the 1 inch is, right? Wrap it all the way around to the back side. And it's going to be about like 15 and a half. 15, it's like 15 and 3/8. Okay? So you want to write that down. Then you want to measure from the top edge to the bottom edge, and this is about 9 3/4. For this is just a composition book. Yours is going to be different. Okay, don't open it flat and then measure from end to end, because you're going to get a smaller measurement than if you do it when it's closed. And you want to be able to close your cover. You don't want to make your cover, put it on the notebook, and then have it not be able to close, have it be like this. So make sure you measure it by wrapping it around, like I just did. Wrap it all the way around and then measure. Okay, whatever notebook. So Toy, I know you and some others had questions about paper content. There's a lot of you wanted, you know, specific kinds of notebooks because you want to be able to paint in it. So in our upcoming My Year video, My Year 2017 video, where I start making my journal for the year, and I won't tell you too much about how I have the setup, but I will tell you that the paper I'm using is file folder paper. That holds up to most mediums very well. I'm not going to be watercoloring in it, so I'm not worried about that, but it holds up to a lot of gluing and stuff. So there's, you know, you may want to watercolor in it, you may want to do something else in it. So maybe you want to get a watercolor notebook, maybe you want to make one. But yeah, measure twice and cut once. Gail's completely right on that. So make sure you have your measurements straight. Once you have your measurements and you know what your measurements are, add 2 inches. 2 inches. This particular notebook cover is going to fit a little differently than the Midori style one. So the Traveler's Notebook one. So if, and I don't know what happened there, I just went like this on the video on screen. Okay, so if you want it to fit like a Traveler's Notebook and be held in with elastic, only add 1 inch. If you want it to be held in the way the one I already made this morning is, you need to add 2 inches. What do I mean by that? I'm going to show you. I'm going to get the littler one. I think it'll be easier to see. Hold on a second. Okay, this is a little leather Traveler's Notebook. This is like a personal size, okay? But the concept is the same. So the handmade Traveler's Notebooks have 3 eyelet holes in it for putting the elastic in, just like this one. And the notebooks are held in with the elastic cord by slipping them in through the elastic, right? So if you want your handmade canvas notebook to be that way, only add 1 inch to your measurements for your notebooks that you're going to use. If you want it to be held in the way I did the one for my friend this morning, then you want to add 2 inches. I'm not going to tell you about how the fabric or anything about this one because there's a video coming out about this. But I will tell you, she wanted the eyelets in anyway because she hangs charms and things off of them. She doesn't hold the notebook in with them. So, okay. And even if she did, she still could. The cover would be a little large, but it would still work. And if she did a lot of gluing and pasting or decided to put 2 notebooks in here, adding the 2 inches allows for plenty of room for a couple of notebooks. There's plenty of space for a couple of notebooks to be in here and the cover to still cover the books. But I made it so that she can just slip the cover into these pockets on the front. And she didn't have to use the eyelets if she didn't want to. So if you want to do that and you want the option of using the eyelets or not, then add 2 inches. If you know you're going to use the eyelets, only add 1 inch. And yes, there's a Galaxy painting tutorial coming up in August, and there's a Galaxy Traveler's Notebook video coming up in August. All right, any questions yet? Because I'm going to throw some more curveballs at you guys before we actually get sewing. All right, so the other curveball I'm going to throw at you, is that maybe you don't want the eyelets at all. You don't have to put those on. That's cool. But you do want a closure. This is a Velcro band from some linens I bought recently, and it already came just like this. And it's almost the perfect length to sew to the outside of one of these journal covers on the spine as you're sewing it together, and you just leave it dangling. And when you're working on it, it's just dangling. When you are done, you just put the Velcro band on. And this, I have the small traveler's notebook ones already listed in Etsy. The large ones, I don't know. It already has been suggested. I have to tell you guys, though, I know how to sew and I enjoy it a little, but it's not my favorite thing. Holy cow, you guys. I probably shouldn't say that out loud, but it's just not. I may sell this demo one. That may be one that I sell. I don't know if I'm going to make more than that. I may do special orders. We'll see. Yeah, for heavy paper, you'd want 2 inches, I think, because the paper is going to be thick. So with this, you know, this, like I said, this is a found thing. It came on some linens I bought, but you definitely could sew it to the spine here instead of the eyelets while you're assembling your notebook, right? And once you put your notebook in here, and you could shorten it if you wanted to fit more snugly. And I would probably do it a little bit, but then you would have this cute band on here that would hold everything closed. So that's an option for something you can do. And I do have a belly band video that's coming up, and you could definitely make a belly band like the one I have on my travel case. And you could make a belly band and you could put it on a fabric cover like this. I'm distracted by the comments. Okay, so you could put a belly band on here, a handmade belly band that you made out of something special, and you could sew it on here before you put the notebook in, and you definitely could. And then that would hold everything nicely closed together. Instead of doing, and if you're going to do a belly band, I would just omit one or all of the eyelets. I would definitely omit the center one, not put that in, because you're going to need to sew the belly band right there. But maybe you want to still put a top one so you can hang journal charms or something off of it. So those are just some thoughts I wanted to share with you this morning. And it's way easier to have a demo like cover and props to show you here on a live broadcast than it is to try to type it up for you guys. It's way easier to do it here. Okay, once you have your measurements of your journal and you know how big your cover needs to be, you need to cut 2 big rectangles for the inside and the outside. Then you need to fold them in half. Move my sewing parts. And this is just natural canvas, natural plain canvas. You need to fold them in half. And then you need to cut some rectangles that are about 3/4 of the width of the cover and the full height. And you're going to need 4 of these. And then you're going to need to cut a big rectangle of the stabilizer that's the same size as the rectangles of canvas, the big rectangles of canvas. So these should all be approximately the same size. Now, before we get started, I need to change my thread because the one I was sewing, it was black. Now you definitely can, you know, sew your cover with contrasting thread, but I would probably recommend matching thread. It's up to you, though. I mean, we're mixed media artists. There's no rules. So where can you get what at, Toy? I'm not sure what you're asking. You mean the belly band or this gray Velcro band that I have? I'm going to put my bobbin away and my thread spool. Wait, it doesn't go in there. I just cleaned out my box. All right, so we're going to put in matching thread. So I've got some off-white sewing thread here. So remember to read your machine for the instructions for how it should be threaded, because each one's going to be a little bit different. Oh, the canvas. Okay, so I found this at Joann's. Hobby Lobby has it too. It's not hard to find. Go look near, sometimes it's near the upholstery department. Sometimes it's near the outdoor fabrics and they call it canvas duck cloth. Sometimes you can find denim, which is a similar weight and texture of fabric, and you can find it in a natural color. I prefer the canvas because the texture is the same on both sides or similar enough that you can't tell if there's a right side or a wrong side. So I prefer the canvas, but I recently just got some at Hobby Lobby, so I know they have it. And they have the natural color, which is my favorite. And then they also had colors and patterns too. I've also done things like this out of duck cloth, and duck cloth is an outdoor fabric and it works really well. I'm going to get out some of my fabric scissors because this has got to fold. I need to cut it in half. There we go. We're not going to hem the edges or anything. We are going to leave everything open and free. So you're going to get lots of these and it's going to fray, but we like that. And we're going to end up stitching all the raw edges. So it's going to fray, but it's only going to go so far. You can use art canvas. Sure, you can. You're not going to get the fun frayed edges, but it should sew up just fine. And I actually have some of that in the closet. And the nice thing about some of the art canvas is it's already pre-gessoed. So if you're going to paint on it, then you don't have to prep it or anything. All right, so we're going to fold our, looking on camera to see, make sure you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm going to lower the camera just a little bit. Hang on a second. And I'm going to move it back. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so we're going to fold these rectangles. I have all of them together, and it, you know, I'm not about precision. Trying to be perfect just makes me crazy and makes my anxiety worse, so I just give up. I don't try anymore. If you're really like precision, like you have to have everything precise, then you should measure this. I'm not going to. Yeah, it's pricier, so use a coupon, Gail. Definitely, it's use a coupon. Okay, so we're gonna fold this in thirds, right? Approximately, and we're gonna cut off 1/3. Oh crap! Not of all of them. Dang it! Now we've got to fix that. See, I'm not perfect by any stretch. Only have 2 of them. I'll show you how to fix that now that I goofed. All right. So you want to have 2 of them that you've cut like this. Don't do this. I'll show you how to fix it. So we're going to take this mistake one, and I'm going to put it under the presser foot. I'm going to push the cut together. I'm going to set my machine for a small, tight zigzag. Okay, I'm going to zigzag over that a few times, and that'll solve that problem. Let's do the other one. I might need to do that one more time. I missed a spot. All these threads made me crazy. So you can fix that. See, look. Let's do this one more time because I missed a spot. Only cut 2 of them. Don't cut all 4 of them. Do not do what I just did. Okay. Now, if you do something like that, that can be hidden, so nobody knows it's there. Make sure that you do that. If you do that, though, that it's nice and strong. So I definitely recommend that you do this. Give it a tug. Make sure the fabric holds. It's holding fine. All right. Like with the Traveler's Notebook pattern, you definitely have my permission to take the idea for doing this and the Traveler's Notebook and create some for any upcoming arts and crafts fairs you have going on, or Christmas fairs or anything like that. These would make great gifts. And the few that I have put in my Etsy shop are selling fairly well. So, sorry, water break. Okay. So now, if you are making these for a gift or for sale, it's always a good idea to have some little embroidered labels made with your name on them. I've had these for a long time. I actually need to order some more, and I've got to try to figure out where to do that because I haven't ordered these in like 20 years. So good thing my name hasn't changed. All right, so I'm going to take one of the smaller pockets, and I'm going to just eyeball it, and I'm going to center it on the pocket. I'm going to go back to a straight stitch on my machine. And I'm going to stitch all the way around the little label. Don't forget to fire questions at me if you guys have questions. I've got my iPad right here so I can see what's going on in the chat. All right. Cut your threads. No coffee today, water. I think I've had too much coffee the last few days. Last night I was so stressed I ate chocolate for dinner. It's just not, I should stay away from the caffeine. All right, so now we're going to take all of the 4 shorter pieces that we have. We have our 2, what are going to be our 2 larger pockets and our 2 short pockets, right? We're going to take all 4 of these and we're going to sew across the top a little bit away from the edge to just stabilize the top edge so that we're going to let it ravel, but it can only go so far. Oh, see, I need to have some labels made, Gail. Maybe you and I should talk. All right. So I'm going to line up the cut edge of the fabric with the outside of the presser foot, right? And I'm going to just stitch straight across the top. I am going to go back and forth at the front, at the beginning and the end, to lock my stitches so things don't unravel. You should go slower than that, especially if you're new to sewing. I'm not going to take that one out and cut the threads. I'm going to keep going. As that one's ending, I'm going to stick the next one under the presser foot. Then I'm going to take the big one and I want to sew across the top. Now you definitely, when you're assembling your pockets, you want to think about how you want your pockets to work. So when you're assembling your pockets, you're going to be able to get into here. And the way I do it, you can get into here and then you can get into the little one. But maybe on this one, you want to go in that way and then get in the little one. You have to decide how you want your pockets accessed, right? And wherever you want the opening to be, you want to do this line of stabilizing stitching across the opening, wherever you want that to be. That's not the right one. I almost did it wrong again. So you used to be able to go, Gail, down to the sewing store and, just order labels through the fabric store. Can't do that anymore. Of course, that kind of dates me, I know. And there is always tea. I'm going to be having green tea next. You can, if you use a serger for this, you can. Gail, especially if you do not like the raveled edges, then doing a serger for this part would be fabulous because you would cut and finish the edge at the same time and it's not going to ravel. You could probably do this whole thing for a serger, but when you sew all the layers together, then you're going to have to readjust your tension. So you're going to want to save your scraps for readjusting your tension for that final step. Okay, Kathy, see you later. Yeah, I know. See, right? Well, I'm right there with you, Gail. I'm dated too. All right, so we're going to take our two long rectangles, and I'm going to move them around because I want to hide my mistake. Although I stabilized it, that doesn't mean I want it to show. And I'm going to, let's see. Actually, this one's more stable than that one. Yeah, I want to do some more stitching on this one, so let's do that. I should just cut new rectangles, but the fabric is way up in the closet. And the closet's right behind the camera. So if you make a mistake like this, just make sure that you fixed it and you fixed it properly. It was really a dumb mistake. And basically stitching it over it so many times and putting new threads on it, it's like creating a big patch on the fabric. Oh yeah, that's way better. Okay. Okay, I did, the second one worked well. Yeah, see, our Hancock fabric's closed, so you might want to get over there and if you're going to buy anything from Hancock's, get over there and do it quickly because they're closing. All right, we're going to go back to our straight stitch here. Now, whatever side of your long rectangle is going to be accessed, like the small pockets, you have to sew the stabilizing stitch down that edge. Extra sewing makes me crazy, you're right. It is funny that I'm not crazy about sewing because it's the first arts and crafts thing that I ever learned to do was sewing. Making doll clothes on the sewing machine. Oh, hey, Me Bear Creations. Hey. Yeah, I'm still live. I talk too much, so of course I'm live. Just call me Chatty Cathy. That's what my husband does. Or Dory. That's his new nickname for me, Dory, because, let's just say I'm very Dory-like on a good day. Yeah, all of them are closing. I only have Joann's, or I have to drive into San Francisco to go to Britex. And I do think there's a Mood in San Francisco, so, but I haven't been there yet. I don't like driving in San Francisco. So I'm going to line my pockets up on my large rectangles. Make sure I have my labels facing right side up. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our small pocket and attach it to our bigger pocket. I have a tendency to not line them up at the bottom and to like bring it up to like here, because I just assume who's ever going to have the journal probably has like sticky notes or something in here and they don't need all the vertical height. We're doing a traveler's notebook style cover, but for a composition book. Okay, so just line it up until it's straight. And then we're going to sew around the outside edges and attach it to the larger pocket. Make sure you go backward and forward at the two sides of the top edge a couple times. That's going to get a lot of wear and tear from people going in and out of it. Stop about 1/4 of an inch from the bottom edge. Lift up your presser foot with the needle down and turn your fabric and stitch across. Again, stop about 1/4 inch from the edge, needle down, lift up your presser foot, turn your fabric, Those of you who have sewn, I know that's like redundant because you know how to do that, but there's some newbies here that have no idea. Okay, we're going to sew straight up. When we get to the top again, we're going to go back and forth a few times just to make sure those stitches are good and locked in. We're going to cut the threads. And now we have our little pocket sewn to our bigger pocket. So we're going to do that to the other side. I also made a lot of my own clothes in high school too. Let's just say I was the nerd girl. I wasn't, you know, high fashion or anything. I'm still not. Okay, same way, stop at the corner with the needle down and then move the fabric around. If you don't stop with the needle down, then you have a chance of the stitches going wonky, for lack of a better term. So you want to make sure the needle's down so that everything stays stable and stays lined up. Oops, see, I broke my thread. That was my fault. If you guys want other great sewing tutorials, I do recommend, and I recommended this last time we did a broadcast too, Stitchless TV. Holy cow. I love that channel. It almost makes me want to go sew clothes again. Not quite, but almost. I would rather somebody else make the clothing for me, but I love her style. Okay, we're going to turn. So when you have that happen and you're in the middle of a seam and the thread breaks, when you re-thread your machine and you restart, go about an inch or so back and start on top of the thread, the stitches that you already did, and sew back and forth a little bit and then keep going. Okay, so hold on and I'll tell you. All right, so what I did is when I went to approach my corner to stop the needle and turn, I kind of went too far, and instead of hitting the back button, I manually adjusted the needle. And if you do that, then your thread's probably going to break. The other thing is to make sure your machine is threaded correctly, because sometimes if it's not threaded correctly, one of the ways you're going to be able to tell is that you're going to have a lot of thread breakage. All right, so now, I don't know what quotes you're talking about, Lisa. Now we're going to take our pockets. Oh, quilts. Yeah, they're beautiful. Some of them are beautiful. Okay, so now we're going to take our pockets and we're going to attach them to our inside flap. All right. So I'm going to line up the bottom of my pocket with the bottom of the inside flap, and I'm going to line up the outside edge. And we're going to start at the top of one side of the big pocket, and we're going to attach it to the inside flap the same way we did the small pocket to the big pocket. No worries, Gail. I talk a lot too. So what you want to do when you get to the corner is you want to stop with the needle down, but you don't want to, and you want to turn the wheel on the side towards you. But if you do this and you've gone too far, don't turn it back away from you and try to go backwards manually. Hit the back button instead. What I did is I turned the wheel backwards manually, and I know better than to do that. I just didn't even think about it. When you do that with the wheel, the thread usually breaks. Okay. And then up the other side. Don't go that fast. Go slower. 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 Jeez, I can't speak today. All right. Cut your threads. As you work with this canvas, it's going to start doing this. Well, that's what we want it to do. So as I'm working with it, I'm just going ahead and pulling these out or cutting them off because I want them to come off anyway. So now we have our inside flap with a big pocket and a little pocket. Oop, found a thread. See, I'm glad that you guys all do the same things I do. I don't feel so alone. So now we're going to do the other one. Line it up. So this is my button to go backwards and forwards. Every machine's a little bit different, so find out where yours is and to go backwards and forwards. Hey, Alessandra, hey, hello, how are you today? So again, stop it. When you get near the corner, slow down, stop with the needle down. If you need to manually adjust the needle, turn the wheel towards you. Don't turn it away from you. If you've gone too far, use your back button. Lift up the presser foot and turn. Keep your fingers out of here. I thought of that last night. This is sharp and pointy and it hurts to sew your finger. Guess how I know that? So don't stick your fingers under there. And if you're sewing with fabric with sequins on it, God help you, then you might want to put a pair of glasses on because those sequins can pop and hit you in the face and they kind of hurt. Guess how I know that? All right, so now we have our inside pocket, and the front inside pocket's usually the one where I put my label. For those of you who are going to do these for gifts or for sale in your craft shows, I recommend putting your label on the inside, one of the inside front pockets. You could put it here on the little one, you could put it on the big one, or you could put it on the top up here. You probably want to figure out where to put the label before you do the assembly of the pockets. All right. Move this out of the way a little bit. All right. So hopefully you guys can see this. We're going to do our assembly. I've got my jar of pins. I still have done nothing about a pin cushion, but I've got my jar of pins. You're going to need a mark making tool. You can use a pencil. I'm going to use this blue Taylor's chalk, which it comes in a pack with a blue one and a white one at any fabric store, Hobby Lobby, any of them have it. You could use a pencil. I wouldn't recommend using anything too dark on this natural canvas, especially if you don't plan on painting like the inside of it, because you're stuck with that black mark or dark mark. Sometimes some of the pins that are in here are collage pins. I prefer a really long pin for most of my sewing because I really don't do dressmaking anymore. I mostly do this kind of sewing when I do sew, and so I need these longer pins to get through all the layers. So I usually have some sort of collage pin or a longer heavy-duty sewing pin. My pins are usually at least 2 inches long, if not 3. I think most of these are 2. And they usually have a decent size like pearl or bead on the end. All right, so now we're going to do our assembly. So we're going to take our 2 inside flaps and one of the big panels, and we're going to set that aside. We're going to take the other piece of canvas, and we're going to lay it down. Now, if you have canvas that has a pattern on it, you want the pattern or design to be face down towards your table. And then put this stiffener on top of it. Okay. Then put your other rectangle on top of that. Line up all your corners if you can. Now again, if you have a fabric with a design on it, the design here, you want it to be face up. And this one, you want it to be face down, right? So that the wrong sides are towards the inside, towards the white stiffener. Okay, then you want to take your inside flaps and you want to line up the outside corners of them with the fabric and everything else. Now I did do one of these where I was doing so many of them and I lost track of what I was doing, and I'd done my stabilizing stitch on the wrong side of the flap. So I had to pull it off and sew it down this side and then put it back. It wasn't a huge deal, but you know, mistakes happen. All right, so now we have this all assembled. I like to pin the layers together at least a little bit so things don't shift. Yep, I'm leaving the edges frayed. Now you don't have to do that, but I like, you know, I like the frayed crazy edges on canvas. Now you could, those of you who do more sewing than some, you could of course do this where you put everything right sides together and basically sew it as a large pocket, leave yourself an opening, cut down the stabilizer to fit inside that pocket, and then stitch the opening closed so that all the raw edges are inside. But for, you know, this is supposed to be an artistic kind of expressive journal cover, and there's just something about the frayed edges, and you're gonna paint on it, and you're going to decorate it ideally. That's why I do them in plain canvas. And there's just something about those frayed edges, and they're interesting. All right, so I'm going to put one of these big pins in at each corner, and I'll show you Me Bear Creations. I'll show you what we're going to do with the edges. We're not going to leave the stabilizer hanging out on the edges, because I'm sure some of you who haven't watched the Traveler's Notebooks videos are like, well, that's not attractive. And those of you who came late didn't see the one I made for my friend, so. All right, so I have it just minimally pinned at each corner, right? We're going to use a 3/4 inch seam allowance. Your machine should have markings on the plate by your presser foot that will tell you. Oh, that's what it was on top of. It was like, why? Oops. Why is my machine like rolling around? It was on top of the seam ripper. All right. So your machine should have marks down here on the plate by the presser foot that tells you different seam allowance widths. It may have the lines without the numbers. Mine actually has the number markings. If it doesn't have the numbers, then you're going to want to measure with a ruler with the needle down. Get a little tiny ruler in there and measure from the needle. Push the ruler up against the needle and measure and see which line is 3/4 inch. And I would recommend, if you're, some of the older machines have the lines but no numbers, so I would recommend marking all the lines if you can. Like, put a piece of tape there and mark all the lines. I had an old machine that didn't have the numbers on it. Now, if you're really if you care about the way the stitching looks on the outside, then I would recommend this next step, sewing it from the outside. If you're more worried about catching all the layers and not having any puckers, do it from the inside. All right, so we are going to, and sometimes if I've cut my big rectangles kind of wonky and they're really uneven, then I'll do it from the side that's more important, which is usually the outside. All right, in this case, they're actually, I did a decent job this time. That's not always true. All right, I usually start from about the center of this space between the inside, front, and back flap. So the stiffener you can get at any fabric store. I am not sure if they have it at Hobby Lobby, only because I haven't looked, but they probably do. They do have the natural canvas and duck cloth at Hobby Lobby, which is usually what I make this out of. This is canvas, but I've gotten canvas at Hobby Lobby. I got the stiffener at Joann's. I usually get it at Joann's, but that's just because I haven't had a chance to go look at Hobby Lobby yet. There is no more Hancock Fabrics by me. There is a Mood and there is Britex, but they're way up in San Francisco. That's like an hour away from me. So I just go where it's available. Joann's.com has the stiffener right now for $3 a yard. I saw today. So I've got my cut edge of my fabric lined up with a 3/4 inch seam mark on the plate here, and I'm going to hold my threads, and I'm going to go back and forward a little bit. All right, and we're going to just get going. I'm going to hold my flap down so it sews down flat. slow. You don't have to go fast. This is the part where I said, somebody said something about a serger, and you could do this part on a serger, but you would want to, you would really need to mess with the tension adjustment. I think it would be difficult. You might want to serge all your pieces and then sew it together with a regular machine, and that's probably what I would recommend. I'm going to move this just a little bit for me. And I'm going to take this, don't sew over your pins, pull them out before you get there. Just take your time, you don't have to go fast. If you go too far, hit your back button. The same thing with the other parts, you know, turn your corners with the needle down and then lift your presser foot up. Pull your pins out before you get there. And I love the natural canvas too, Alessandra. It just gives you so many options. And I love the way the colors of paint look on the natural canvas. It's definitely my favorite. And for those of you who joined late, I will share again the other one I made for my friend. And I'm not going to tell you how I made the fabric because that tutorial is coming in August. And I did make the fabric. Okay, if you get to any part, like I find this on a couple of them at the end, and you have, it seems like you have more fabric on the inside or outside than you have on the other side, and you like think you're going to get like a wrinkle, hold the back, hold the front, and you sew so that you don't get you don't sew in a pucker. I really have to do something about my pin cushion. All right, one more short side. Oh, thanks. Press her foot down. Now, once you get used to sewing these kind of traveler's notebook covers, whether they're for composition notebook size like this one, or they're for traditional like Midori size or moleskin kaye size, you know, you can do like a whole bunch of inside flaps, and then you know, a whole bunch of the little pockets with labels, and a whole bunch of the outsides, and just you know, you can do like an assembly line thing. You'll get, you know, once you've done a couple of them, you'll get pretty good at it. You're going to get sick of making them if they're big sellers, but you know. Let me turn this corner and I'll tell you another trick about not getting a wrinkle with these. So the other trick about not getting a wrinkle is to take your stabilizer when you get to the end and it seems like you're going to have a pucker. Cut a couple of slits in it. So take some scissors and just cut a couple like 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch long little snips in it, and that'll allow you to not only pull the fabric open a little bit, but to pull the stiffener open a little bit. It'll help it stretch a little bit. So I usually find when I have done that, that it's at the end right here, which we're at. So I find right here at the end, then I just take a firm grasp of this side and the side facing me, and I just pull it tight. And then sew until I meet, sew back and forth, and then cut your threads. The other thing about doing all these sewing tutorials is I got used to sewing a lot when I was out in the garage studio, when the studio was my space, and I was able to just throw threads on the floor. And I find myself continuing to do that, but my husband comes in the house after work and says, "Why is the floor covered with threads?" And I'm like, I was doing sewing tutorials. Let's see. Yeah. I do a lot of things. Let's see. I don't hold anything back, not even when I make mistakes. I don't understand the point in that. All right, so I'm going to pull some of these threads out, the stuff that's hanging, and you're going to start to get these fun frayed edges. We want that. Okay. So now you're saying, okay, that's all well and good, but you have this like white, this white thing hanging out, and you're like, that's not attractive. And when you do one in the black or dark fabric, which again, there's a tutorial coming up on making this fabric, and then a few days later, there's me making a traveler's notebook size one of these out of the same fabric. And I had a friend who wanted me to make her one for a composition book. So anyway, so I'm not going to tell you how I made the fabric because it's coming. But it really shows up on the white fabric, on the black fabric, because in between the layers, you've got this white line. So, and the stiffener only comes in white. So it's really important that you do this next step so that that stuff doesn't show, because it's just not attractive. Avalanche. We're going to just leave it. So you want to take your cover, you want to peel back the side of the fabric facing you and peel away from you the other side of the fabric on either side of the stiffener, basically. So you just have the stiffener sticking up. Yeah. And then you want to slowly and carefully run your scissors along and just cut all that excess stiffener off. Now, you could trim your stiffener to size and then sew it together, but I don't really recommend you do that, because honestly, that's going to just make you crazy trying to make sure you caught all the edges of that stiffener in your sewing as you're sewing around. It's going to drive you nuts. So just do it this way. It's a lot easier and less craze-inducing. Just don't go fast. Hold your fabric back. If you have applique scissors, if you're a seamstress and you've done a lot of sewing and you have applique scissors, then you know what I'm talking about. Use those, because those are perfect for this. You don't have to have them. Just hold your fabric down on either side and just make sure that you're just cutting the stiffener. Now, if you have sharp fabric scissors like I do, I almost don't even need to move the scissors. I just need to run the cut edge with the scissors open along the edge of the stiffener, and these are so sharp it just cuts it right off. All right, more threads. And oh my God, while we're doing this, I can tell you guys, we cleaned out the trap. The washing machine had this giant clog in the pipe, and we cleaned it out. Holy cow, that was disgusting. Oh, yeah. It's all clean now. Those of you who don't know, I had some washing machine issues last night, drove me up the wall. I had a mini meltdown. All right. For some reason, I always have trouble trimming the last one. I don't know why that is. It's always an issue. But you notice I'm not even like doing that with my scissors. I have them open, and these are so sharp, and just running it along the edge and it's trimming it right off. All right, so once you've trimmed it, then that's much nicer. Then you really don't see the stiffener, and that's what you want. And these, this natural canvas is perfect because, you can either, as you're going along and you're using it, wipe stuff on here when you have leftover paint, or before you put your notebooks in here, you can decorate it, you can stencil on it. You're never going to wash it probably. So you can just use whatever you have. If you're planning on washing it, everything we've used to make this is washable. So then you probably want to use fabric paint. But I don't know that I would bother, because the more narfed up it gets, to use one of Shannon Green's words, which I just love, the better it's going to look. So I think I would just not wash it and just use whatever I have laying around. All right. So now we have a cover, a notebook cover, and it has pockets in the inside and a flap. in the front and pockets and a flap in the back. Perfect. So now we're going to put eyelets in. So if you're going to do a traditional Midori style notebook cover, which you don't have to do. Get my stuff together here. So again, traveler's notebook or Midori notebook style, everything's held in with elastic bands. There's an elastic band that runs down the center, and then there's usually a center hole where another elastic band comes out that you can wrap around your notebook. So if you want to do one like this, then you need to put eyelets in your cover. And you could use elastic to hold your notebooks in, or you could use a ribbon or yarn or some fun fibers. You could use anything. But you're going to need eyelets. Now, the way I've designed this one, you don't have to do that. You can, because we did 2 inches bigger, you can just use it with the flaps, and you can just fit your inside cover and inside the flaps and hold it in that way. And do it without the eyelets. You don't have to have the eyelets. You could just put a belly band on, whether one that's from a found object like this one or one that you've made, and you could sew it to the center spine here. I would probably, if you're going to do something like that, and maybe we'll do that to this one. That would be interesting. And I've had this piece of ribbon like laying around. I don't know what to do with. So I don't know. What do you guys want to see me put the eyelets in, or do you want me to see me put this belly band on there? I've done the eyelets a couple times now in the other Traveler's Notebook videos, and I can kind of walk you through the process but still put the belly band on. How does that sound? I put my tape measure away, my one of a million now. I've got a mini collection going on. Eyelets would be nice to see. Okay. How about 2 eyelets, and then I'll put the belly. I know what I'm going to do. So I'm going to put this away. We're going to need the tailor's chalk, but we're not going to need the seam ripper. So I'm going to put all that away. All right. So I did the eyelets in the other 2 Traveler's Notebook videos, and I will. But I think I know what I'm going to do with this one. And we're going to put 2 eyelets, I think. Okay, so, but we are going to use the belly band. We're going to do both. All right, so what I would do if you're going to put a belly band, then you want to, wrap it around your journal and see where you want to position it. And in this case, this is a little bit long, but I'm not sure I want to cut it, because maybe at some point, if I'm, really, adding a lot to my notebook, I might need to let it out, right? Plus, I'm just lazy. So I think I'm going to just fold it and then stitch it down. Plus, when you put pens and pencils and stuff in here, you're going to need a little bit of, wiggle room, because once you put like pens and pencils and stuff in here and sticky notes and stuff, it's going to get a little fat. Okay, so I'm just kind of pressing it into place, and then I'm gonna stick a pin in here, because I've got to take the notebook out. Actually, I'm gonna just pin the ribbon so that I know about how much that I want to shorten it, like by about a ½ inch or so. I'm going to take the notebook out. And put it somewhere. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is put the belly band on. Now, if you were going to put an eyelet, then it would go in the center of the spine where the belly band is going to go. So you have to just do one or the other. You shouldn't probably do both. I do need to figure out where the center is, so I'm going to fold my notebook in half. Now, if you don't want to put marks, one of the things I've been doing is I take my journal and I fold it in half, and then at the top of the fold I stick a pin to mark that top edge, and then at the bottom of the fold, again making sure everything's lined up, stick another pin. So then you have a straight line to work with from pin to pin. Now, when I'm sewing this belly band on, whether you have Velcro or you have a clip, and again, I'm going to film the belly band video hopefully today, and that one has clips on it, but whether you have Velcro or clips, you probably want them to be like in, you know, you don't want them to be here on the edge. You probably want them to be right here. But you'll have to decide, because maybe if they're big bulky clips, you want them on the edge. So that way when you're working in your journal, they're not bumpy underneath what you're doing. So you want to think about these things. In this case, we have Velcro, and it's really flat, and it's not going to inhibit working on the journal at all. So it's not a big deal. But if you have bulky plastic clips, maybe it would be a big deal. Hey, Sabrina. Okay, so I'm going to now carefully take my pin out of the ribbon and pin the ribbon to the canvas cover. I'm going to use 2 pins just because I think it's easier, so that it's like that. And then get the machine back over here. Oops. Okay. And we're going to carefully take the pins out. Seriously. Yeah. Okay. Those pins are only in there so that when you get it to the machine, things don't move around too much. Okay, we're going to top stitch it down just with a straight stitch. I'm going to start, I can feel where the fold is, so I'm going to line it up with the edge of the presser foot, and I'm going to stitch on one side. Lift up the presser foot with your needle down, turn your cover around. You're going to have to like roll it up so that you can get it underneath this part of the sewing machine. Lift your needle up, go to the other side. This is just a shortcut for those of us who are lazy crafters and you don't want to bother stopping and cutting threads. All right, now we're going to go to the other side. Okay, stitch it a couple of times, pull it out, cut all your threads, cut that little bridge thread that bridges the 2 sides together. Don't take these upper and lower pins out yet. You're going to need them in a minute. So now we've got our belly band sewn on. All right, now you're going to need a pencil or some tailor's chalk. Again, tailor's chalk comes in usually blue and white. Sometimes you can find it in like yellow, red, and black. I actually have a little piece of those around here somewhere I've had forever. But most of the time you just see blue and white, and that works fine. White for dark fabrics, blue for light fabrics. So now we know where our center spine is right here because of our pin heads. And we're going to take a ruler, lining up the edge of our 2 pin heads so we have a straight line, and marking in about 1 inch down on one edge, putting a little like half cross. You want to put a horizontal line at the 1 inch and a vertical line right up against the edge of the ruler. All right, and then you want to do the same thing at the bottom. Okay, and I'll show you what that looks like in a second. So that's that. You see the blue, little blue marks? We have one at the top and one at the bottom. So your best thing, the next thing you're going to need is some eyelets, and you're going to need a way to punch a hole, and you're going to need a hammer. Get your frustrations out with a hammer. You can get eyelet kits at the fabric store. Josie, if you have artist canvas, because it has a layer of gesso on it, you may not need the stabilizer. And you know, you can always do any of this with any fabric, even denim, without the stabilizer. It's just going to be a bit more floppy. The other thing that you could do, if you can't get the stabilizer, or you don't, you know, have it, you don't have the budget to go buy it, you could put a third layer of fabric in there. And it could basically be a throwaway fabric. It could be anything. So think about that. And maybe if you're doing it with artist canvas, the inside and outside are artist canvas, but the inside is just a piece of your husband's old blue jeans or something. Think outside the box. You know, we're mixed media artists, so, you know, there's no rules. So you're going to need an eyelet kit to put the eyelets in. And an eyelet kit will usually come with your eyelets, and then it'll come with the setting tools. This is the eyelet kit without that. That'll come both ways. Make sure, if you don't already have the setting tools, that you buy the one that has these tools in it. Okay? But these large eyelets, they're available at the fabric store. Now again, like with the stabilizer, if you don't have eyelets, you don't have any way to get eyelets. Like Josie, she's in Italy. I don't know, you know, how hard it is to get things there. Some places it's really hard to get stuff, even here in the States. So you definitely could do a lot of other things. You could just omit the eyelets and just do the belly band. You could do buttonholes. If you know how to do a buttonhole and you're an experienced seamstress, you could put a little buttonhole at the top and the bottom. Why couldn't you? This is your journal, so you could do anything you wanted. You could, if you want, if you're only using the eyelet hole to hang charms off of, you could just sew a little loop of fabric to the outside at the top or the bottom. If you're going to use it for a Midori style system to hold your notebooks in, you could sew a little loop of fabric to the top and bottom on the inside and do that. So, you know, think outside the box. Eyelets are easy, and I have, okay, people, I have a large box of eyelets. So this is a way for me to use them up. And these, literally the size on these, it just says large eyelets. These are by Dritz. They're a 1/4 inch eyelet. But the package just says large eyelets. And obviously I have an eyelet hoarding problem because, you know, make sure I've got the right eyelets. I want the 1/4 inch ones, yeah. Let's see. Some of these are shiny and some aren't, so I want to make sure I get ones that are matching. I have huge, giant ones. Yep. Okay. All right, let's see. Well, we got the journal cover almost together, Gail. All right, so I have my eyelets out. I've got the eyelets will come in 2 parts. One has a longer flange on it on the inside, and the other one has a shorter one. You could call them a male and a female one. So you need one of each for each hole. Yeah. Your eyelet kits will usually come with directions. You can hit it on the replay, Gail. All right, so now the next thing, punching holes. The best way to punch holes, because you can't set the eyelets without putting a hole. You could do it the really hard, old-fashioned way by drawing a little hole and cutting it out with scissors. Okay, don't do that. It's just going to make you crazy. Trust me. Get out your crocodile and use your crocodile. It works like a charm. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pins out because I made my marks now. I don't need my pins anymore. I'm going to get out my crocodile, and this is, I have no idea if they come in different sizes or not. This is a crocodile 2. That's all I know about it. So we're going to use the larger hole on the crocodile. And I'm going to put it underneath here, and I'm going to line up my blue mark with where the larger hole punches. And I'm going to punch one hole right on top of my blue mark, one hole towards the center of the journal cover, but hitting that first hole, and then one hole towards the side. So 3 punches all together so that you get something that looks like that. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing on the other end. We have a belly band on here, so you want to push that out of the way. Now, if you were going to do the center eyelet, then you want to make sure you mark that and you do the hole the same way. Oh, Big Bite, that's what it's called. See? When I started getting into scrapbooking and mixed media, it was like the first thing I bought. So one hole right on top of the mark, one hole to the top of that hole, and one hole to the side. So you have 3 holes together and you're making kind of a bigger hole. All right. Then we're going to push the taller one of the eyelets through the outside into the inside through our hole that we just made. Just work at it a little bit, you'll get it. If you do the 3 holes together, it'll fit in just fine. Then the little black piece goes lined up with that eyelet you just put in. And there are grooves for the eyelet to sit in. All right, then put the shorter piece on top of that. And then the other piece of your setting tool on top of that. Yeah, you could do that, Josie. Go to the shoe repair shop. I just tend to do them myself. I might like working with a hammer, though. I might have issues. This is a hammer my father-in-law gave me years ago before he passed away, and I'll treasure it always. Anyway, here we go. Try not to hit your fingers. There we go. One eyelet. Let's do the other one. Yeah, if you don't want to bother with the eyelet part, just make sure you mark them clearly and then go to your little, if you have like a shoe repairman, and have him do it. My middle name is neither Patience or Grace, so I would rather do it myself. Okay, next. All right, so we've got our 2 eyelets. Now, again, if you were going to do it with, you know, traditional Midori notebook style or Traveler's notebook style, there'd be a 3rd eyelet. But in lieu of that, if you don't want that 3rd eyelet, you think the elastic closure band's just a giant pain in the butt, then put a belly band on. All right. So now you can put an elastic band between your 2 holes, and you can put your notebook in that way. And then you have all of these pockets in the front, inside, and outside cover to put stuff in. These larger notebook covers, though, I sized them so that you don't have to do that. You could if you want to, but they're sized so that your composition notebook will just fit in without having to bother with the holes. And then if you wanted to, you could hang charms off the holes. You could thread a ribbon through the cover, joining the 2 holes, and then put beads on there or something like that. And then we have our notebook, our belly band, which is just big enough to get pens and stuff in there. And there you go. So if you're just joining me late, then know that I got a lot of questions about making these notebook covers in different sizes. We have a couple of videos out already on my channel for making a version of these, one out of old blue jeans, in a traditional Midori notebook, Traveler's notebook size. Yeah, or a strap for the shoulder, Gail. And after I aired those videos, a lot of people wanted to know, what if you want to use something bigger than a Midori notebook or a Moleskine Kaye? How do you figure that out? So that was the purpose of this video. At the same time, I had a friend who wanted to know if I would make one for her out of this fabric, which she'd seen, and you guys will see next month how I made this fabric. she wanted all 3 of the eyelets. So here's what it looked like with all the eyelets, and here's what it looks like with the belly band. And she wanted it for a composition notebook, and she basically had the same question you guys did. So I thought, well, I should just do a video, and then I realized I should just go live. It's easier. So that was how this came about. The instructions for figuring out the measurements for your notebook, whatever one you're going to use, are in the very beginning of this broadcast. Make sure you watch that part. It's important. Make sure you measure your notebook a couple of times. A little bit bigger cover is better than one that's too small, especially if you're like me and you end up gluing a lot of stuff to your notebook and you know it's going to end up looking like this when you're done. And you definitely could, in the center here, like put a long strap, or you could sew in a couple of loops with clips on them that you could clip a long strap to it to carry it around. Yeah, there's a lot of different options. And you have my permission again to make these for, you know, upcoming craft fairs and things that you're maybe doing, if you're doing the craft show circuit, the Christmas craft show circuit, or summer craft show circuit, in either version, either this version or the traveler's notebook size. And you could make little ones. This is a little leather traveler's notebook, but you know, you could just resize it and make a little teeny tiny one. So it's all in the measurements. You know, Me Bear Creations, it's really all in the measurements. When you're measuring your notebook, make sure you're measuring it with it closed, and you're starting at the front edge. Hold your tape measure there, and you're wrapping it around to the back edge. You're going to get a different measurement than if you open it flat. It's great for kids going back to school. And, you know, bonus, they can write on the cover, because you don't care if they write on the cover. The purpose is to decorate the cover. They could have their class schedule inside in the pockets. Yeah, it would be great. I don't know if I'm going to put these bigger ones in my Etsy shop. The little ones are already in my Etsy shop. The link to the shop's in the description already below. I don't know if I'm going to put these bigger ones in there. I don't mind doing sewing tutorials, but I don't know about doing a lot of sewing for sale. No, I don't know. I got to think about it. I don't know. So it wasn't wide enough for the notebook that you used in it, but you know, just use it, save it, and use it for a different notebook, and maybe, or cut that notebook down if you are brave enough to do that, and have one of those old-fashioned guillotine paper trimmers. Or take it to Staples or your Office Supply and have them trim the notebook for you. They have a fabulous paper trimmer, and you can like take your notebook, if the cover you made is too small for your notebook, like especially if it's just like 1/4 of an inch, measure how much smaller the notebook needs to be, and you know, make some lines on the outside of the notebook, and then take it to the Office Supply and have them trim it on their fancy trimmer. Yeah, how many orders can I take? Holy moly, you got to private message me. We'll see. I don't know. I used to sew for a living. I stopped doing it for a reason, Gail. I want to encourage you all to do them. It's all ready to decorate. See? I might have to keep this one because this is cute. So these are all parts that are easy to find at your fabric store. Nothing should be super hard to find. Even the stiffener, all of your fabric stores should have it in stock. The tailor's chalk, believe it or not, is not hard to find. It should be over by your Sewing Notions. You can do it, Gail. Once you get like past the 3rd one, it's going to be a piece of cake. You just need a lot of eyelets. I do have the Traveler's Notebook size ones. I think I have 1 denim one and 2 or 3 natural canvas in stock. I forget, but if you look at the Etsy shop, it'll tell you which ones are in stock and in which colors. Right? I'm envious. I don't have any grandchildren yet. Then again, my daughter's only 21, so I can wait a little bit. I'd like her to finish college first. All right, guys. I think that's it. I got more sewing videos to film. we are going to film. I'm going to use these scraps to make a fabric collage bookmarky things. So when you're doing this, don't throw these away because these are nice. These are perfect width and great stiffness to do a bookmark. And you could cut them in half or cut, you know, I don't know, a quarter of it off, and then do sort of a fabric collage on it on both sides with scraps of fabric, or sew it to a plain piece of fabric and then scraps of ribbon and lace and different things to the other side. That would be fun. You could paint on it, I'm sure. So I wouldn't throw these away because they would be cute. What else do we have? I could give you a tease, quick tease. So we are going to do Sewing 101 is going to do a series where we do basic stitches, and we're going to make a little basic stitch journal, basic seams. I may get really brave and do a buttonhole for you guys. We won't do anything. We would just do it the one time. And I am going to show you the basics of sewing in a zipper. I have this little small zipper here, so that's what this is about. We are going to make some faux silk sari mixed media ribbon. I have some fabric scraps here and some lace that I got at the Japanese dollar store. And I'm gonna do that, where that's gonna be another Sewing 101. And again, we're gonna do the belly band video. Some of these videos are gonna be done with the little Janome, because I want you guys to see how to use a different machine. So we're going to be, again, we're going to be doing basic stitches. We're going to make a little journal out of that. We're going to be doing mixed media style, like ribbons, something you could use for fibers, even on your traveler's notebook journal covers. And we're going to be using the little Janome, and we're going to be sewing paper and things on the little Janome. No worries. Oh, Josie, I used to do wedding dresses. I like sewing with those fancy fabrics. I just don't like brides. The brides make me want to smack them. So I figured that wasn't good for a bridal seamstress to want to smack her customers. All right, that's it for right now, everybody. I'm going to take a break and have proper lunch, something besides a protein bar, and yeah, Bridezilla, right? Yeah, not so much. Yeah, we call them brides from hell. So, little known secret, I also used to be a fabric cutter and seamstress for Chuck E. Cheese. Those of you in the United States who know who Chuck E. Cheese is, the pizza parlor. I worked at the factory where we made the robotic characters, and yeah, I still don't like fake fur. I like the sewing part, Josie. If I could just be in the back room doing the sewing part and not have to talk to the brides. And today we're drinking this Arrowhead sparkling lemon water because I'm into lemon water right now and I didn't feel like making any. All right, that's it, everybody. Don't forget the most important thing. You know what that is, right? A couple somethings. So like, share, and subscribe if you aren't already. Don't forget to have fun and break the rules with your art, because that's what it's all about. We're mixed media artists and there are no rules for us. And go out and do something nice for yourself, because you know you deserve it, and I know you deserve it. Yeah? All right, that's it for right now. I am going to have a little break, and then I'm going to get some more of these things filmed. I know, right? I haven't been to Chuck E. Cheese since I stopped working there. It was a lot more than 25 years ago. That's all I can say. I think I was there once a very long time ago when a friend of ours had, like, their kid had a birthday party there. That was a long time ago. All right, that's it for now. Show your machine some love if you've got one. If you don't, maybe you want to think about picking up an inexpensive one. My little Janome, I bought it on sale. I think it was a regular retail about 65, but I think I paid between 45 and 50 for it. I don't remember exactly, but it didn't cost much in the grand scheme of things. This one was a lot of really expensive. It's a FOF 1546. You can get them used sometimes for a decent price, but they're not super cheap. So if you're going to just practice and play, go pick up something, pick a budget, and then go to Walmart, Kmart, Target, and pick up an inexpensive machine. If you have a sewing and fabric store, see what they have. If you're going to sew paper and stuff on it, I wouldn't spend a ton of money because the paper is really bad for the machine. All right, that's it, everybody. Talk to you later.